Hey, this week we're going to be talking about committing to one another. So for those of you who have business partnerships, or for those of you who are married or thinking about getting married, this is a really important discussion. And I want to begin by just laying out some facts about divorce and separation. These are not commonly known. For example, unhappily married adults who divorced or separated were no happier on average than unhappily married adults who stayed married. In other words, you can go ahead and get divorced or get separated because you're unhappy, probably will not solve your problem. Okay, here's another fun fact. Divorce does not reduce the symptoms of depression. Unhappy marriages are less common than unhappy spouses. Let me unpack that. You have some unhappy people, and they say, my marriage is making me unhappy. Often, they're just an unhappy person. So maybe before you break a commitment, you might want to ask, am I the problem? Am I just unhappy because I'm unhappy? Or is it actually the marriage? Here's another, you wouldn't guess this. 74% of divorces happen to adults who have been happily married 5 years previously. In other words, they were happy, and now they're not happy. Now let me just make an observation here. From my own counseling with couples, when someone is presently unhappy, they cannot imagine ever being happy before or ever being happy in the future. So your present emotion is typically what you interpret has always been. Like, I'm happy now, so we've always been happy. I'm happy now, so we will always be happy. That's just not realistic. Here's another, you would never guess this stat. 2 out of 3 unhappily married adults who avoided divorce or separation ended up happily married 5 years later. So you can have happily married people 5 years afterwards, they're unhappy, and you can have unhappy people that 5 years from now will be happy. A more recent study found that over 70% of spouses thought about divorce a few times in the last 6 months. 70% of you, the last 6 months thought, what about divorce? With 28% of married individuals, that is ages 25 to 50, they reported that they had had serious thoughts about divorce, but are still married. Okay, now here's the kicker. 88% of this group reported that they were glad they stayed married. In other words, we all go through seasons where we think, man, am I going to stay married? Or, man, is divorce an option? 88% of those who stay married were happy they did. And almost 90% of this group identified themselves not just as survivors in marriage, but thrivers who were happy in their marriage. In other words, if you've made a commitment, you will probably be better off if you keep the commitment than if you break the commitment. Let's open up with this discussion. Other than marriage, what's the hardest thing you've ever committed to? Why was it hard? And was it worth it? Look, we all know this. Commitment is always hard because commitment is always, always. In other words, you don't just commit to something and it's done for life. Like your marriage, you have to commit to it every day. Like your job, you have to commit to it every day. Like an athlete, they have to recommit every day to what they're committed to. And the payoffs are sometimes a long way off. Like you're committed to win a championship, but it's a long time before you do. You're committed to a marriage, but that's a long life. Commitment is always, always, and the payoff is often a long way off. So let's talk about this. Share a person who has inspired you with their level of commitment through a difficult relationship. We've all had someone who inspired us. In fact, my father-in-law inspired me. For 9 years, his wife, because of Alzheimer's, was in a nursing home and didn't recognize anybody, barely knew him some days. For 9 years, twice a day, he went to be with her in the morning and he went back in the afternoon for 9 years. And for 9 years, he felt like he's all alone. Nobody knows what he's doing. But at the funeral, he was surrounded by me and my wife, his other children, and scads of grandchildren, all of whom learned how to be married by what he suffered. How have you found that commitment is continual? And what strategies have you found to recommit to the important things daily? Share what you've learned from others that you have admired. Here's one principle that I think could help with your commitment to commitment. In the New Testament, the word commit, it is paratithemi. It means to set alongside or to put in the hands of another. Now, what I noticed when I was looking at this word paratithemi, commit in the Bible, is that almost all the uses, almost all, are about committing to God. Let me just read a few of the passages that illustrate the Bible's view of commitment. Here's Luke 23:46. Jesus called out with a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." When he had said this, he breathed his last. Acts 14:23. Paul and Barnabas appointed elders for them in each church, and with prayer and fasting committed them to the Lord, in whom they had put their trust. Acts 20:32. Now I commit you to God and to the word of his grace, which can build you up and give you an inheritance among all those who are sanctified. 1 Peter 4:19. So then, those who suffer according to God's will should commit themselves to their faithful Creator and continue to do good. That's our first and primary commitment, that we commit ourselves to God. But there were a few passages where someone committed something to someone else, and it was always what they committed was the gospel to someone else to spread it. Here's some examples. 1 Timothy 1:18. Timothy, my son, I'm giving you this command in keeping with the prophecies once made about you, so that by recalling them, you may fight the battle well, holding faith and a good conscience. 2 Timothy 2:2. And the things you have heard me say in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to reliable people who will also be qualified to teach others. My conclusion: don't commit yourself to a spouse. Don't commit yourself to a friend. Don't commit yourself to a boss. According to the Bible, you commit yourself to the Lord. And when you do, every commitment that you have, whether it's work, family, play, or even church, is to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. The only thing that you should commit yourself to is the spread of the gospel as you commit yourself to God. To those of you who are married, listen, your relationship is not for your pleasure. It's not for your benefit. It's for the good of the gospel. Why? Because every relationship on earth is a shadow of our relationship with God. And so when people look at you, your neighbors, they see Jesus in your marriage. They see Christ's love for his church right there in your living room, the way you love and care for your spouse. Our goal is not to be happy in life, but is to show the love of Jesus Christ to a world that is watching us live out our faith in our relationships. That's why your commitment to marriage is bigger than your own personal relationship or family. So here's a question. What difference would it make, or has it made, in your level of commitment to recognize that your relationships reflect to others your commitment to Christ? Okay, we can't just talk about it. We've got to do something in response to this biblical truth. So here's the challenge. Choose a relationship that you want to go deeper with. Could be your marriage, a business partner, a friend, or a family member. Identify one thing you need to recommit to this week to protect that relationship.